Hello students, welcome back to our video session. The last video session we have covered first chapter in unit 2. Of course, variables and operators is the name of the chapter, and these are the topics what we have covered in the last chapter. Introduction to Python, key features of Python, programming in Python, input and output functions, tokens, Python data types. Now we'll be moving on to next chapter, and the chapter name is control structures. In this chapter, we are going to learn about types of control structures, syntax of your alternative or branching statement, syntax of your iteration or looping statement, jump statement in Python. Now, what is use or what is the purpose of control structures? You have learned your Dev C++ last year. Definitely, you might have got an idea what is programs. Programs are nothing but set of instructions. That set of instructions are executed sometimes in order, sometimes not in order. So basically, a program will contain set of statements. These statements are executed. Once they are executed, they may yield a result. They may yield a value. In some program, statements are executed sequentially. You know what's the meaning of sequential? In order, one by one. In some program, statements are not executed sequentially, but we may skip a segment or we may skip a set of statements and execute another set of statements or another set of segment based on test of a condition. This kind of execution is called alternative or branching. We have one more type of structure of a program where a set of statements will be executed for multiple times. Of course, we call that as iteration. Set of instructions to be performed repeatedly until a condition is fulfilled. So basically, control structure controls the flow of the program. Sometimes the program flow will be normal, sometimes the program flow will be abnormal. Abnormal in the sense, statements control may jump from one part of the program to another part based on the program requirement. So, a program statement that causes a jump of control from one part of the program to another is called control structure or control statement. These are the three important control structures you'll be learning in Python. One is called sequential control structure. One is called alternative or branching control structure. One is called iterative or looping control structure. A flowchart representation to show you what is sequence, what is iteration, and what is selection. Sequence, as I said you, the program flow will go in order. that we call as sequence. Selection, based on condition, the program may flow towards your true side or the program may flow towards your false side. Even we can call your alternative or branching statement as decision making statements. Next one is your iteration statement. Here, based on condition, a sequence of statements will be executed repeatedly if the condition is true. The condition is false with the looping structure, with the iteration process. A flowchart to represent what is sequence, what is selection, and what is iteration. So your control structures are totally three: sequential, selection that we call as alternative or branching, and one is called repetition that we call as iterative or looping. Of course, what's the meaning of a sequence? I say one more time here. The order in which tasks are to be executed in order one by one, that we call a sequence. Selection, executed only if a certain condition is met, and we have two types of selection. One we call as one-way branching, other one is called two-way branching. Iteration, a loop that allows a part of program to be executed multiple times. So we call bounded iteration, unbounded iteration. First, we will see what is sequential control structure. Of course, a program consists of a set of statements. Sometimes this set of statements will be executed in order. If your program statements are going to be executed in order, then we call that as sequential statements. So a sequential statement is composed of a sequence of statements which are executed one after another. Now you can see in your slide, I used my print output function in Python to print three strings: hello, hi, welcome to Python programming. All these three strings will be executed sequentially in order. First, it will print hello, then it will print hi, then it will print welcome to Python programming. So when you execute this program, the statement order will not change. It will be sequential in order one by one. So we call that as sequential. Next one is alternative or branching statement. See, normally in our life, we take decisions, right? Once you finish your 12th standard, you might take a decision whether to choose which degree for your higher education. So you take a decision whether you want to choose your engineering or you are going to choose your arts subject. So decision making is very, very important in life. Same way in program also we make decision making. So decision making will be called as alternative or branching statement. Python provides the following types of alternative or branching statement. We have totally three types of branching statements used in Python. Simple if else statement, if elif else statement. I think you have come across this simple if else in your Dev C++. More or less the syntax is one and the same here. You might have come across your nested if in Dev C++. Here the same nested if is being said with a different way. We call that as if elif else. Now I'm going to show a program for simple if. Before going to the program, let me see the syntax of simple if. They say simple if statement is the simplest of all decision making statements. So One of the simplest branching statement in Python is simplif. So syntax, of course, you know what's the syntax mean by grammar of that language. How to use your simplif in your program. First, we have to use the keyword if followed by condition. What do you mean by condition here? Condition are nothing but logic. Who writes the logic? The programmer or the user who is going to learn Python is going to write the condition. That's the logic. The condition is true. Execute the statement block 1. So as far as simplif is concerned, it is able to check your condition, then execute the statement which is given after the condition. If the condition is false, this simplif does not have an alternative process of checking. That is, the condition is failed here, right? It does not have an alternative process. It may go to the next part of your program statement and start processing from there. So when does this statement block 1 will be executed? Only when the condition in the simplif is true. Now we'll see a small example for simplif. Right. Now there's a program for your simplif. Look at your screen. This is my PyCharm screen, one of your editor. Of course, this editor is not required for your syllabus. Anyhow, for my Zoom classes, I'm using this PyCharm. You may use your Python editor screen, that is your script mode, to type your program. Anyhow, I'm showing the program on my PyCharm, so please observe it. First, I have declared a variable x. Then I have used my input function. You know, input is one of the function used in Python to get the data from the user during the runtime of your program execution. Of course, input function can accept value from the user, but whatever value input function is going to get, it will accept only as a string. So we have to convert that string to integer by using your int function. Once it is converted, it will be stored in a variable name called x. Like other programming languages, Python does not require the variable data type to be specified in front of it. It is able to allocate its type based on the value given, based on its value given. If is your simplest statement, decision statement in Python, x greater than or equal to 18. It is my condition. Condition is your relational expression here, or it can be even your logical expression. It checks whether the value of x is greater than or equal to 18. The condition is satisfied. That is, if the condition is true, you'll get the message you are eligible for voting. So let us execute this program and see the output. Now it is waiting for the user to input the age value. I input 19 here. And you're getting a message on the screen, you are eligible for voting. When you get this message, you are eligible for voting, when the given condition is true in your simplif, the statement which is given after the if will be executed. Remember, like in Dev C++, we may put a condition in bracket. Here, bracket is optional, but keep in mind, once you use your simplif, once you write your condition, you have to come out of that line by giving a colon. colon is a part of a syntax of your simple if. Let me execute this program one more time. Now I'm going to change the value. I'm just going to give the input as 17 here. Press enter. So nothing is displayed here. Why? Reason is very simple. Simple if checks your condition. Here condition failed. The condition is failed. Simple if has got no other option. It does not have an alternative process to display something when the condition is failed. That's a drawback of your simple if. Now we'll go to the next branching statement. If else. Here in your if else, we have got two blocks. One is called the true block, one is called the false block. So an alternative is provided when condition is failed here. So syntax of your if else looks like this. If condition statement block 1, else statement block 2. The condition is true, block 1, which is called the true block, will be executed. The condition is false. It comes to the else part and execute your block 2. So block 2 is called as your false block. So if else is able to provide you two possibilities. If the condition is true, execute your true block. The condition is false, execute your false block. Which is called the true block. Block which comes after the if is called the true block. Block which comes after else is called the false block. Now, when you talk about block, of course, in your Dev C++, to represent a block in program, we might be using your open curly braces, closing curly braces. But in Python, blocks are represented by indentation. Space provided here represents the block after if. Space provided here provides it's a block of else. Now, a program example for your if else. Now I'm going to get a name from the user at the runtime of the program by using your input statement. Once I get that name, I'm going to store in a variable name called name. Then check that name. If the name entered by the user as student, you'll get the message, hello student, good morning. If the input given by the user is not student, then you'll get the message, hello guest, good morning, and just print one more message, how are you? So the condition is true, true block will be executed. The condition is false, false block will be executed. I repeat one more time. I'm using my input function to get the name as an input from the user. Once the input is being entered by the user, that input is being stored in a variable name called name. I use my if else here. Of course, you know if else has got two blocks, true block and false block. Name is equal to student. Is equal to is called my relational operator. So what input I have stored in name that input should be equal to a string name called student. If the condition is satisfied here, the condition is true here, a message will be printed, hello student, good morning. Else, when does your else statement will work out here? Else statement will work out if condition is failed in your if. The condition is failed in your if, it comes to else part and executes else block, which is called the false block. Will get the message, hello guest, good morning, print, how are you? Now let us execute this program and see what is the output. Now it is asking the user to input the name. So I input here student. So I'm typing in capital letter, I'm sorry. I have to type in small letters because Python is case sensitive. So I'm getting a message, hello student, good morning. Why? Because the string entered by me is student. The condition is what? Name is equal to student. What is stored in your variable name? Student. So name equal to student. Student is equal to student. Condition is true. So I'm getting a message, hello student, good morning. Let me compile this program one more time. Now I'm giving some name here. I'm giving Hari. But now the condition fails in your if. So your else block works here. So you get the message, hello guest, good morning, how are you? When does this two statements are executed? If condition failed in your if, it comes to else block and executes your else block. Right? Now we'll see one more example. To print whether the given number is even or odd, I'm going to get the input from the user. Once the user enters the input, it is then converted to an integer type, then stored in a variable name called a. Of course, you know, input function can accept all values only in form of string. So we require int function to convert that string to integer, then store in a variable name called a. Now check that value of a in your if. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to divide that value of a by 2 by using your modulus operator. Of course, you know what's the use of modulus operator. It will return reminder as your result. The reminder is 0. I'll get the message, the given number is an even number. The reminder is not 0. I'll get the message, the given number is an odd number. Condition is true. I'll get the message, even number. The condition is false. I'll get the message, it's an odd number. Let us check out this. Now it's asking the user to input the value of a. I give 10 here. So I'll get the message, 10 is an even number. Now I'm going to compile this program one more time. Now I'm going to give 11. I'll get a message, 11 is an odd number. The condition is true. True block is executed. The condition is false. False block is executed. Are you clear what I'm saying? Right? Then we'll move on to next branching statement. First, we'll see the syntax. Then we'll come back to the program. We call that as nested if. What is nested? If a if block is placed inside another if block, we call that as nested if. In Python also, if you are going to place if inside another if, we call that as nested if. Right? Here in Python, we are able to use a clause name called elif, which is equal to else if. I repeat one more time. In Dev C++, we have come across nested if. A if condition placed inside another if, or if else placed inside another if else. In Dev C++, we pronounce as else if. Here, the same else if is being pronounced with elif. So elif is a class, right? Now we'll see the syntax of your nested if elif else. If condition 1, statement block 1. Elif condition 2, statement block 2. Else statement block n. See, first condition 1 has been checked. The condition 1 has to be true, then block 1 is executed. The condition 1 is false, it comes to elif and checks your condition 2. The condition 2 is true, it executes block 2. Even if the condition 2 is failed, it comes to else, which is called the last block of this nested if, and executes block n. Executes block n. So there are totally two conditions here. If condition 1 is true, block 1 will be executed. Condition 2 is true, block 2 will be executed. If both these conditions are going to fail, it comes to else, which is the last part of your if elif, and executes your else part and executes your block here. Now we'll see a program for your nested if. Now I'm going to get two inputs from the user. The first input name is M1. The second input name is M2. I mean to say M1 is my first variable name, M2 is my second variable name. M1 represents your first subject mark, M2 represents your second subject mark. Now I'm going to get two subject marks from the user, add the subject marks, divide that subject mark by 2, so I'll be getting the average for the two subjects. If average of these two subjects are more than 80, I'll get the message grade A. Suppose if this condition fails here, if my average falls between 70 and 80, I'll get the message grade B. Suppose if my average falls between 60 and 70, I'll get the message grade C. If my average is more than 50 but less than 60, I'll get the message grade D. Suppose if the average does not fall between the range 50 and 60, it is less than 50, I'll get the message grade E. So here we have condition 1, condition 2, condition 3, condition 4. Then if these 4 conditions are not going to work, then we are going to else part and execute your else part. So when does you're going to get the message grade A? If condition 1 is true. When you're going to get the message grade B, if condition 2 is true. When you're going to get the message grade C, if condition 3 is true. When does you're going to get the message grade D? Condition 4 is true. If all these 4 condition fails, It comes to else part and execute grade E. Okay. Now we'll execute this program and see the result. I'm asking the user to input the first subject mark. I'm inputting here as 50. Second subject mark 60. So I'm getting grade D because my average falls between 50 and 60. Right? We have come across all the branching statements in Python. You have learned all these branching statements in Dev C++, so you'll be feeling very easy to understand what I'm saying here. Today's session gets over by here. We'll meet in the next video session for iteration logics. Thank you.